Okay. I hope everybody is able to view my screen. So we begin our journey actually from today. And before I start, if I could have a brief overview about the people who have joined. I mean, like just a one-liner. I'm more interested in your technical expertise. So let me start with Nikhil. Could you kindly mute if you are not in a position to use the mic? Maybe you can chat. Then I got, yeah, Nikhil, if you could just give me a brief one-liner, like technically, what do you know? Like what are you working on? So let me move on to Srinivas.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
So if you could give me an idea about
Srinivas.
technical, yeah. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm Srinivas and I am working for non-IT in Wipro.
Okay, non-IT.
For Facebook.
No.
Yeah,
It
for
does
Facebook.
not matter. It does not matter which field you are from. What I want to know is technically what all things you know. Like, do you know Linux? What operating systems you know, or any programming language or database?
I don't know anything about that. I know about the basic concepts. What are they in the DevOps tools?
Okay.
Like, I don't know in depth about that.
No problem. Okay, so you are a complete beginner then. Cool.
Yeah.
No problem. Our course is designed. I mean, like everything will be taught from scratch, but it's just that you need to make sure that you actually follow pace with me, keep up with me. Okay.
Okay.
The many of the words I would be using, terminologies, they would all be new for many of the people. But then there are things we can't learn all the things at the same time. But whatever we are learning, it is there is a learning curve to it, and the things are going to be taught on an incremental basis. So gradually we will proceed one after the other, and nothing will be typed or clicked without any reason. And whenever I do anything, I always explain why I am doing that. So kindly follow my videos, and I would advise everybody to at least sit with a pen and paper. I mean, like have a notebook and a pen with you. Keep that notebook for this class. Write down like commands, and I will be sharing each and everything. But then you should also make your notes. I will provide you my notes, but maybe just like the command, write it down. That would be good for your revision later on. And apart from that, this course is not designed, or actually no technical course can ever be done by only viewing. I expect each and every one of you to practice it real time on your own system. You will definitely need a system. This course cannot be done by just viewing watching the videos on mobile. So kindly keep in mind about that. Yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, did I actually just now speak with Kiran? Who did I just speak with? I think
not me, Kallol. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, then Kiran, would you kindly like to introduce yourself, like your technical expertise? That's all I'm interested in.
Yeah, perfect. Hi, hello everyone. My name is 𝐤𝐚𝐬𝐿. You can call me Kiran. I'm basically from a mechanical background, but just from past 2 years, I've just carried out AWS Solution Architect course, and I've entered into software as a cloud project manager. From past 1.5 years, I've been working as a project manager for cloud migration from on-prem onto cloud. So that's my experience.
Cool. So I think you have been on-prem to cloud, then you are mostly working with the hybrid model, I guess.
Hybrid, yes, yeah. Hybrid model, yeah.
Cool. Good. And coding and stuff, how much do you know? Like,
I would say
you
zero.
said you worked as a project manager, so you've done PMP?
Yeah, I've done Prince certification, and
Prince
from my
also.
yes, yeah, only Prince I have done, not PMP. But I don't have any knowledge about coding. But yeah, I can understand networking from high level, from cloud, AWS features and all those things, services and all
So
those things.
subnetting and all that stuff you have already covered, I guess.
Yes, subnetting, and when I say I've covered, I know what is subnet one, what is subnet mask, and all those kind of things. Obviously, I don't have any kind of hands-on experience doing those kind of things.
So then can you calculate CIDR values?
No, I wouldn't be, but yes, I can just go to Google and then I can just calculate the CIDR values like that. I can just use the tool and I can execute that.
Okay, no, I'm talking about the understanding.
Yeah, of course, I can understand what's a subnet, what is CIDR.
No. The mathematical aptitude that is required to calculate the CIDR. Your network team will provide you with the CIDR for the VPC. But then
Yes.
if you have to break it up into
Subnetworks,
that calculation to you, okay.
No,
so you know it at a high level only.
High level, yes, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Then I mean, like you are a project manager, so you know about agile methodology and stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, DevOps and all, yeah.
Yeah, then I think you will have to bear with the rest of the team. There are many because this course is designed for beginner to intermediate level. So there might be stuff which is boring for you, but then conceptual questions, they pop up now and then. And I've seen even experts, they also stumble on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So those parts, I would request you to kindly bear with me and take it as a refresher course during that part.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Kallol, just one question. So at the end of this course, let's see, my intention of joining this course is obviously from cloud project manager, I want to move on to like a DevOps engineer because there are more opportunities in UK from contract role. So that is my intention. So after I do this course, what are your thoughts? Like I can just put as like 1 or 2 years experience and then get into some cloud, DevOps.
What was that? The last two sentences I missed. What did you say?
My intention after this course is, at the end of this course is, I want to quit from cloud project manager role and move on to DevOps engineering role because there are more opportunities from contracting point of view.
Yeah, this part I'm clear. After that, what did you say?
Means use like a 2 or 3 years experience from this course by doing all those projects and get into some DevOps role. That's what I was wanting to say.
Yeah, you're already working as a project manager. That would definitely be a high value add-on for you. Okay. So you already know about hierarchy and how and stakeholder management you can do. You can do resource planning, budget planning, because at the end of the day, any software product which has to be delivered, a project manager is always concerned with the on budget, on time, right?
Yeah.
Because that directly affects the sponsor of the project, because they are the ones who are spending the hard cash, right?
Correct, yeah.
So you are already well versed with that. You already know team conflicts, where they arise, why they arise. Okay. So the major part of a DevOps engineer, see, when a product is finally launched, it is the front end and the back end developers who actually get the kudos, because they are the ones who actually get the accolades, because they are the ones who would be not interacting directly, but the customer thinks that they are the ones who are responsible for it.
Correct,
okay.
Yeah.
But in the DevOps engineers always work in the shadows. The whole, I mean, like DevOps in itself is today's session anyways, I would be discussing about what is DevOps. So DevOps is a methodology, it is a culture, it is a collection, it is a collection of tools, it is a collection of methods and practices, not just the good practices, but the best practices, which have been developed over a period of more than 50 years of IT. It is DevOps is sort of standing on the shoulder of other giants. Like today we criticize waterfall model, but actually we have learned from waterfall model what are its failures, and only then agile developed. And then DevOps has taken up the best practices of agile. So DevOps in itself is a methodology. Okay. So once you know these, I mean, like your project management skills will definitely help you. So overall, this course will give you a hands-on about all the major tools that are used. Our course is tailor-made. So this course is DevOps with AWS. This is not AWS DevOps. Let me clarify this difference first of all. AWS DevOps. Okay, guys, please understand this at the beginning itself. There is a difference between AWS DevOps and DevOps with AWS. Okay, so we are actually going to do this one, not AWS DevOps. The second one is more valuable. The one that we are teaching, that is more valuable. The reason being, AWS DevOps means you are going to implement all the DevOps principles. So basically, DevOps principles, when I say DevOps principles, the basic thing that I'm referring to here is idea to market. Business has got an idea. It needs to be developed as soon as possible and in a working mode quite successfully. And then it will be in the market so that the business can earn revenue. Okay. DevOps is just the methodology using which you can do this with a minimal amount of human error and as soon as possible. So the sooner you deploy it, the lesser the expenditure will be for the sponsor. Now, when you are trying to do AWS DevOps, the idea here is to use the DevOps principles, but using all the AWS resources. Everything. So we will come across something called IaaS, infrastructure as a service. All the infrastructure that is going to be required, right from coding, building, deploying, configuration, all of those tools will be found within the AWS console. Okay, but we are not doing that. Rather, we are doing something which is more valuable. Why? Because we are doing DevOps with AWS. This means we are going to use the AWS as infrastructure. Definitely, we are going to do that. We are going to implement the principles of methodology of DevOps. But then, additionally, we are going to use third-party tools. These third-party tools like Ansible, I'm not writing the name, that entire thing is there in the syllabus. I will give me a second. Let me pull up that thing. So go through our syllabus. That will make more sense. There's no point rewriting the stuff again. Just drag the window here. So DevOps on AWS and DevOps with AWS, more or less the same thing. So the tools I'm talking about here, the third-party tools that we are going to use for the various hands-on projects that we are going to do. So one part, definitely AWS is there. All of these things we will learn over the period of the next 2 months. But then apart from that, Linux is something, a prerequisite that is definitely DevOps engineers will have to use. So it is more of a knowing the operating system and using the commands. Okay, that is not exactly. So that Linux also that we are going to use, that is also going to be open source, third party. For example, Ubuntu, Red Hat. These are one of the most popular Linux operating systems that are in use. Okay. Now, compared to that, if you're going to use it on, if you're going to do AWS DevOps, Amazon has got its own Linux flavor. So they will be promoting their own Linux, but we are not going to use that. Rather, we are going to use the ones which are more prevalent in the market, like Red Hat or Ubuntu. Okay. And then the other softwares that we are going to use are like Git, Maven. These are all free open source. Git is not exactly open source. I mean, like it has been procured by Microsoft recently. But then the others, like Jenkins. Okay, these are the major names. Terraform, Ansible. Get to know these names. These are all highly used open source tools. Docker, Kubernetes. These are the major ones. Okay. And then on and off, there are other smaller tools that we will be using. But then these are all the major ones. So that is the point that I'm trying to make. When you are going to use, when you are going to learn DevOps with AWS, you are not going to get confined only within AWS. AWS is one of the cloud providers who are providing us with the entire infrastructure. That is what is known as IaaS, right from databases to EC2 instances, Lambda functions, whatnot, Route 53, whatever you can think of that is required to build web applications, or rather any kind of application. Okay. But then at the end of this course, once you know about this Kubernetes and Terraform and this kind of stuff, then you will see that after learning this, you will not be confined only to AWS cloud. You can then switch over to Azure or Google Cloud Platform or Oracle Cloud. Okay, so that is the freedom and leverage, and that is why learning DevOps with AWS is actually better. We are not going to learn all the tools. That is simply not possible. There are hundreds of tools, but then the concepts, the underlying core concepts behind the tools, those are limited. If you understand the concepts properly, then it will be relatively quite easy for you to switch over from one tool to the other. It is just like, I mean, like if you know how to drive maybe a Toyota Corolla, I mean, like the basic thing is you should know how to drive a four-wheeler. If you know how to drive a Toyota Corolla, then maybe, I mean, like you can switch over to a Mercedes. At the end of the day, you are driving a car only, a four-wheeler only. You need the basic concepts of how to shift gears and know the traffic signals and rest of the stuff. It is something like that. The tools that we are going to use, just check the syllabus. They are the most prevalent in market right now. Right. So that is about, so keep in mind, we are doing DevOps with AWS or DevOps on AWS, not AWS DevOps. Okay. Next, so this is how it is really going to help you. I think it was Kiran's question. Right. Let me quickly go through Prasad. Kiran, does that satisfy your question, query?
Yes, yeah, perfect. Kallol, yeah.
Good. Thanks. Okay. Next is. Sorry, I'm really new. I might be forgetting names. So kindly, I apologize for that. Prasad, are you in a position to use the mic? If you could just quickly give me an idea. Yeah, you're actually not audible. Never mind, you can post it in the chat. It's not a problem. Okay, moving on to Amit. Okay. Please feel free to put your expertise in the chat if your mic thing is not working or if you're not in a position to speak. Shubham. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. I think I spoke with Srinivas, but then there are, I think, Srinivas, have you actually got 3 logins or what? Or are these different people? No, one of them is definitely different. So I think I spoke with Srinivas Yeragola. There's another.
Yes.
Okay. So Srinivas Potluri. Would you be kind enough to give us your
Hi, this is Srinivas Potluri. So I have around 18 years of experience into IT. I'm mainly working into a performance testing. Yeah.
okay, so you are in from testing background, performance testing.
Yeah.
JMeter.
Yes,
Self-
yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Yeah. JMeter.
Cool. So can you give a brief idea? Like, I mean, like, then you are into automation also?
I'm into
Writing script?
yeah. So I have done some automation as well, and so I do work with Linux day in day out. So I do have some experience with Linux.
Cool. Which flavors? Which district?
Red Hat Linux mostly I have been working on. So
9, 10 or older version?
I think 9 version. Yeah.
9. Okay, cool. Actually, we are going to start with Red Hat 9 only. So Ubuntu and the other SUSE Linux, these versions you have not used.
I did work with Ubuntu as well, but yeah, mostly on a Red Hat I worked on.
Yeah, so regarding Linux, let me inform you, the people who are absolutely new to Linux, it's fine, you will gradually learn. But then who have already worked with Linux, there are different versions. DevOps engineers mostly work with, they have to use Linux only. Okay. Rarely would you come across where you have Windows OSs or Mac OSs. It will depend from project to project, but it is mostly Linux. Now, there are various distributions of Linux. And the commands, 95% of the time, they are the same. But then there might be subtle differences in how the commands are framed, or how they are, or even the names might be a bit different. Okay, so you will get used to that. So if you come across a situation after learning the command that you have used, because majorly here we will be using Red Hat Linux. So don't get surprised. I'm like, if it is not working, you just need to Google it or do a bit of documentation. Like, go through the documentation and you will get an idea. Just for example, like we use to install software or to remove software, we use a command called DNF or yum. These two are used in Red Hat. But compared to that, in Ubuntu, that is another distribution of Linux, we would be using apt, apt, or apt-get. Okay, so these are just the subtle differences. 95, or I would rather say 98% of the commands are more or less same. Okay, it once again depends on which distribution of Linux you are using and why you are, what is the purpose. Like Linux is open source, so there are numerous distributions. I mean, like just for giving you an example, if you want to know the variety, Android is built on Linux kernel. So Android is actually a Linux distribution only, custom made for mobile devices. Okay, and then everybody must have heard about the Tesla car, Model S or whatever, the battery operated car from Elon Musk's company. So they also use Linux. They have also developed their Linux operating system specifically for the Tesla car. So this is the flexibility of using Linux. Okay, Prasad is currently working as a GCP data engineer. So Prasad has got knowledge on Google platform. Cool. You will find many of the things are similar. See, the major cloud platforms, be it AWS, Azure, GCP, or nothing but Google Cloud Platform, and then Oracle, there is DigitalOcean. They are all Linode. The concepts, once again, I'm saying the concepts like for cloud, for networking, they would remain the same. It's only the way you are going to use it. When you log into the browser, into the platform, and then where you are clicking, how you are clicking, step by step, they will only differ. So once again, it's the concepts which are more important. Okay, so yeah, more or less, thank you guys. I got an idea about the team who is doing what. So yeah, people from non-IT background, you can do this course, you can start this course. And then finally, if you complete all the projects, where is it? Let me open it up. So this course curriculum here, once again, this is what we are going to follow. It has got major projects. You will frequently come across this term called CI/CD. So continuous integration, continuous deployment. So that is the major, that is the main focus of a DevOps engineer. Always new code is being written that needs to be integrated seamlessly with the existing code. So when we say new code, just an open question. That new code, why are we writing new code? What is the purpose? Either you are doing an enhancement, that is nothing but a new feature in the software. You are adding a new feature. Or it could be a bug fix. What do you mean by bug fix? So in the existing software, the testing team, they have found out that there is some functionality which is broken, which is not working. Okay, so the developers then need to fix it. So whatever be the case, either enhancement or bug fix, new code will be written. By whom? By the dev team. Or development. I'm going to write it in short as dev moving forward. Then that code needs to be built and deployed. Who does that? That is the sometimes it is called IT or the ops team, operations team. Okay, so whenever, now let me actually discuss. So I've actually started discussing what DevOps is. Okay, now let me give you the overview. So let's ask ourselves this question: what is DevOps? What it actually means, practically means. Now I want to know, before I start, does everybody here know about, like most of the guys know already, about SDLC?
Software development lifecycle.
Yeah, okay, so fine, thank you. Whoever does not know, kindly put it in chat. So everything revolves around SDLC. Ultimately, as I said before, anybody who does not know about SDLC, kindly put it in chat. It's okay. There is no nothing to be ashamed about. We are all learning here. It's fine. So the basic idea is, always remember, you have to convert idea that business requires and deploy it in market. That is the simple thing to earn dollars. Okay, so for doing this, the software needs to be developed. Fine. If the software needs to be developed, it cannot be done only by a single person or team. Okay, there are different roles for accomplishing SDLC. There are different roles. What kind of roles? For example, the development team. They are the ones who are going to write the coding. I'm not going into details like development team. Also, there can be front-end developers, back-end developers. There are various kinds of developers. Okay. Just give me a second, guys. Somebody's at the door. Yeah, sorry about that. So development in short, whoever is writing the code for the product. Then that is one team, dev team. And then we have got, but if that code has been written, be it partially or be it in completion, it has to be tested. So there is a testing team. But before they can test it, the code written by the developers, they will write the code. That code has to be built. And then it has to be packaged and deployed. Before deploying, you will need to configure the environment. So there is configuration also. Who is going to do all this blue stuff, whichever I wrote in blue? For that, you need the ops team or operations. So while learning DevOps, we will see that in the traditional method, there is always a conflict that happens between the development team and the operations team. Okay. Most of the times what happens is the rest of the testing team, and then apart from that, another role that is there, I mean, like that is the management. So this includes like all the project managers and business analysts and stuff. Okay. All the roles here are required for accomplishing the SDLC process. But then here we are mainly focusing on the development team and the operations team. Okay, so let me just highlight. This one is one role, developers, testers is one role, ops is one role, and then management. So now the SDLC cycle, it starts with planning. Why it is called SDLC? What is the cycle here? So the plan will be there has to be implementation for it. You have to implement the plan. Then finally you have to test it if it is working properly on it. Once everything is working good, this is at a very high level, I'm saying. Okay, it has to be deployed. And once it is deployed, here by deployment, I mean it is in production. That is the environment where the users are actually, the actual users of the software, they are going to use it. So deployment, once it is done, then we come into the maintenance mode. Okay, just like if you buy a car, that is one-time investment. But then apart from the fuel costs, even if you're not going to use the car, you still have to maintain it. You still have to get it serviced. Similarly, that also applies to softwares. Once they are deployed, the databases maybe need to be refreshed. The server processes, if they are within threshold, they need to be checked. So as soon as softwares are deployed, because users would be using them in the current scenario, web applications are built to work 24/7. Okay, so somewhere something can definitely go wrong. That is where I mean, like that maintenance team will be taking care of that. But then during maintenance, they might come up with issues like bugs which were missed during the test phase. Okay, or or business might come up with new enhancements for the furtherance of their business. So again, new code is required. So then again, you go back to planning. This cycle is nothing but what is, this is what you mean by SDLC, or the software development life cycle. Now, when you are going through this SDLC process, you will need these job roles or these teams, developers, testers, operations, management, and then apart from that, basic IT and networking infrastructure team also. Usually, they are the internal team of the company itself. Okay, they just don't cater to only one project. They actually cater to the entire infrastructure for the entire building, wherever they are situated on premises. Okay. Now the thing is, here let us see that, I mean, like the developers, they would be writing the software, but then the IT team, they the major point here is that I'm trying to make is new functionality. So whenever there is new code, either there is new functionality or fixing bugs. Okay, this is what comprises the new code. So even if the project is not getting any enhancement, there might be bug fixing, or there might be things like you need to maintain the existing software. Okay, so I'm gradually giving a picture like how the DevOps role, DevOps engineer role actually emerged. Now, how the, I mean, like the very simple process is the developers will do the programming, then there will be software testing by the testing team. Initially, okay, one question here. Do I forgot somebody is from the testing background. Please don't answer. You already know this. Do developers do testing of code?
Yes, yeah.
Kiran,
Initial level of testing will be done by the developers itself.
what is it called?
Component level, or I don't know how you do that in the software world, but basic kind of testing, whether what they are trying to do is what they have developed the code for, is it working or not. So basic level of testing will be done by developers.
Yeah, so that is called unit testing. So
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Unit testing will be done by developers, but that is very minimal level of testing. Okay.
Yeah.
Once they are happy with that, then they will, then they will ask the ops team, because they would be doing, okay. So here we need to understand something about environments. I mean, like different companies use different, depending on their requirements, they have different methods of implementing it. But basically, it starts with the development environment. So there will be one dev environment. This is the environment where the developers will start coding. Once, so the configuration of that environment, okay. Once the developers are done with their coding, then the ops team needs to create the environment, replicate that environment for the testing team. Okay, this is the simplest version I'm saying. But then there is no hard and fast rule. Different companies have different approaches, but more or less this should be the way it is done. And then so again there is a testing and test environment here. They will test it in this environment, and then there might be a staging environment depending on the project, the sponsor budget resource. But otherwise, if the test environment is also passed, then that is where the ops team will then push it into something called prod or production. This is the live environment. This is where the customers are going to use it. The actual users are going to use it. Okay, so production environment is highly critical. I mean, like if production environment is down, that means customer is losing business. So production environment is the most important environment. So that is why, by chance, if there is an enhancement, Everything was working fine, but then a new enhancement or a bug fix was introduced, and it went through the process from these environments, and the moment it hit production, there can be 100 reasons. But the moment it hit production, what happened is the software crashed. So immediately there has to be something called a rollback, reverted back to its original form. I mean, like take back the new code. Again, ops team is getting involved here. Okay, so why am I saying this? Now let me explain that part. So this was the environment part I explained. This is what actually happens. You will keep changing environment. So again, this is part of SDLC only. So basically, what we call this is called a software release. These are the new terms that these are the terms that you definitely should understand. So when the ops team is actually releasing the software, what they are doing, they are going to build the application. Then they are going to run it on servers. Servers are nothing but powerful computers. Just take it like that. And it is not actually then all of this. Let me remove this. It is not a then thing. They might happen in conjunction. So building the app, running it on servers, and upgrading existing software. Okay, that may be like applying a security patch on the operating system, existing software. So ultimately, all this combined, and then all this thing ops team is doing. Keep it in mind. And then the software runs in production, in prod. That is the main objective, or rather the final objective. Now to do this, as soon as the development team gives the request for a release, the challenge for the operation team is there should be no downtime. And can anybody explain like what is downtime in SDLC?
Application should not go offline for the customers, like whenever they log in.
What is downtime? No, it should not is a different. That is the objective.
Oh, okay. Downtime is like application will not be available for whatever duration. Correct. We agree with the.
Correct. So the downtime means the app is not running. App not available. Okay, what could be the reasons? Maintenance. Maybe a database refresh is happening, or maybe updates, or maybe the other one of the other reasons. One of the most important other reasons in today's world happens to be like a zero-day attack. Like zero-day attack is nothing but a vulnerability which was already existing, but only the hackers identified it, and then they did a combined attack, worldwide attack at the same time. So literally there is 0 days for the team to react. Okay, like wannabe. And then there was this very famous case, like the Lazarus team. They are famous hackers. They tried and they were also successful, but the amount they tried to hack with the zero-day vulnerability was like they tried to Central Bank of Bangladesh. They tried to hack like around $2 billion overnight. Like within 3 days, but then they somehow managed to, at least grasp like more than a few million. Okay, so downtime is required to address these issues, security updates, and also like actually let me put it in a security patches. Okay, security patches are something which will keep coming. So that actual function, I mean, like the objective of the operations team is to make downtime is equal to 0. Okay, they don't want to do downtime at all. So their objective is to make the system stable. That is what they are maintaining. Okay, that is the challenge for the operations team. Now, now let us discuss like not only that, they also are going to maintain the system so that it can handle the traffic load. Yeah, I mean, like done by the customers. Okay, so this is their major task for operations team. Now, why do we constantly have conflict between the dev team and the ops team? Why do we have conflict? They have, if you observe it closely, they have got their responsibilities are different. Guys, my handwriting is very ugly. I apologize for that. And there might be spelling mistakes because I'm speaking and writing, but I hope you get the idea. So their responsibilities are different. Development team's responsibility is to code, whereas while development team is to code new stuff, operations team's responsibility is to maintain, not write new stuff. Okay, their objective is to make the system stable. Always keep it stable as much as possible. Now, if you keep injecting new code, always. So dev team is always trying, I mean, like hampering the stability of the existing system. Okay, so their responsibility is absolutely different. One is trying to inject new code, injecting new code. There is always a high chance because of any bug or because of a mismatch in configuration, always it will destabilize the existing system. Okay. See how this what I'm showcasing here is how the dev team and ops team come into conflict. What next? Technical knowledge. Their technical skills, developers' technical skill are different. They deal more with programming languages, test frameworks, databases, version control. But compared to that, what the ops team does, they are mostly, they know operating system. They have got grasp over operating systems, mostly Linux. They are more into command line. They have got expertise in scripting or monitoring tools. So their technical skills are also different. So basically they are speaking different languages. Apart from that, finally, tools. Dev team uses completely different tools from the operations team. So, but the ironic part here is both the teams, they are still working for the same goal. What is that? That cycle that we discussed earlier. Cycle of nothing but SDLC. They are part of the SDLC only. So they, so ultimately, individual, I mean, like be it collectively or be it individually, the final objective is still to provide the software product. But in providing this software product, in terms of responsibility, technical skills, and tools, there is a huge gap here between the development team and operations team. So this is what, for example, the major problem that comes up here is, in any team where multiple people are working, in any project where multiple teams and multiple people are interacting, one of the most important thing is collaboration, for which communication is the most important thing. But in reality, because of these three factors, the responsibility, technical skill set, and the tools that these two teams are using, there actually becomes a barrier between them. And that communication, so there's sort of a wall is there in between them. And this results in, they start working in silos. They don't, the interaction level, I mean, like the two-way interaction level, that literally stops because of these 3 points. Their responsibilities are different, their technical skills are different, and the tools that they are using. So this is what has been going on in the traditional method. Obviously, what does this? So the way it works out here is the dev team, they will ask for a release. Okay, and for that, they want a new version to be deployed. Okay, they are asking literally for deployment. Now that deployment will require environment variables. ENV means environment. It will require the pathway for the folders, correct folders on the servers. Who is doing this part? This part obviously ops team will do. But then to do this, they will for deploying the required configurations, they will need so before that release happens, they will need to configure. The configuration has to be done for the environment or the other softwares. The environment needs to be prepared. Okay, these are the major tasks for the operations team. But then, how should they do this? For this, the dev team, they will give something called release notes. In that, in that document, so it will basically be the steps that are required to do the prepare the configuration and build the environment or the folder structure on the servers. Now the ops team will try to follow this release document, release notes. Okay, but then since this is being done manually, maybe the release note is not clear enough, or it is missing parts, like steps. Then there will be a lot of to and fro between them. Ultimately, what happens is the release takes longer than what was made available in the project timeline. So there is ultimately a delay in release. This is the problem. So if delay is in release, that is loss for business. Now, this is the problem that needed to be solved. This had been ongoing for quite some time. Finally, that's where the DevOps culture. So now DevOps, developers and ops, development and ops. It's a combination of these two words, from these two words. A single. So DevOps culture was sort of envisaged. Okay, so it's just a way of working between the in between. So the DevOps engineer is actually between the dev team and the ops team. The DevOps engineers, they speak the language for both the developers and the operations team. So they use a common language to communicate. Initially, it was just a way of working between the development team and the operations team. But with as the methodology itself evolved over a period of time, DevOps actually became its own role, and it actually became a job. Just like developers, operations, testers. Similarly, DevOps engineers became a new, a new role and a job. Many new concepts were introduced because of this. And also from the concepts, arose new tools as well. So a DevOps engineer is actually a software engineer who speaks the language of both the development team and the operations team. But at the same time, they have their own language and tools and skill set as well, which the other teams do not use. Okay, so the barrier that was there between the dev team and the ops team, the DevOps engineer is actually, he or she breaks down that barrier. So now let us be clear on what kind of tasks and or responsibilities. What does a DevOps engineer need to do? So definitely a DevOps engineer needs to have a know-how, the language spoken between the development team, by the development team and the operations team. That is one of the important features of a DevOps engineer. They need to know, apart from that, they need additional DevOps skills and know-how, how to do that job. Okay, for that, the basic task and responsibility for a DevOps engineer, you will always come across this term CI/CD pipeline. I mean, like this is during when the product is being built. This is when new code is being written. Okay, CI/CD pipeline. So what this means, once the code is committed, okay, first, usually it is done in Git nowadays. So the code gets committed by the development team. So after that, this pipeline entails something of testing, building, pushing, and deploying. In all these phases, DevOps engineer will be involved. This is one of the primary tasks. What does this result in? It results in a smooth transition. Smooth, seamless transition. So ultimately, we have our idea to the market through the software release. Now for this, because of DevOps, one of the most important tools are this Docker, Git, Docker, and Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is actually, this is equal to this word only. In short, it is just written as 𝐾. Okay. Because of this DevOps culture, these tools emerged, and it made this software deployment releases more effective and far more easier. Now, this is about the DevOps thing. Like, so what did we discuss till now? Let me just have a quick recap. Now, actually, let me put a pause and I will open up the platform for any questions. Anybody has any question, please feel free to ask now. I mean, like from any one of the previous slides, you might have any question. Because the next thing that I need to discuss is something called waterfall model versus the agile model. Can anybody give an idea about waterfall versus agile?
Waterfall is nothing but once you got a plan, you will just follow step-by-step procedure till the full code is developed. And then once the full code is developed, then it will be tested. If something goes wrong, then obviously from last step to it has to be a recap to the first step, and then it needs to be redone. But agile methodology is the tasks are split into smaller parts where smaller codes will be developed and tested and then implemented.
Right. So there are requirements that are first of all gathered. So that planning has to be done, all the plan has to be done beforehand. So once the requirements are gathered, then they will be developed. Or rather, let me just write development. Once the development is done, only once the development is completely done, only then then there will be testing, and then finally operations. This is nothing but, I mean, pushing it into prod. So literally all planning, plan beforehand. Now the problem here is you cannot foresee everything. Something somewhere might go wrong. Now, apart from that, the dev team, they code the complete app. So it is not as if it can be tested partially. They have, only when they code the complete app can it be done. Okay, and testing happens after coding. After entire coding. So there is a huge preparation here. Now, having said that, I mean, like it is very easy to say like that a waterfall model's failures. It is very easy to highlight, but then it is not as if waterfall model is not used. So this is just a model using it is a set of principles which can be used for doing any project. Software is just another kind of software development is just another kind of project. So this is the major challenge in waterfall. But having said that, waterfall model is still used. It is not as if waterfall model has become obsolete. It depends on the kind of project. Depending on the kind and nature of project, there you will actually use the kind whatever fits. Sorry. Whatever fits the requirement. Okay, so once again, it is an ineffective process. The problem areas here. It is ineffective in the long run. Like frequent overtime, I mean like new requirements. They cannot be addressed. Once something starts, it has to end. Only when the entire coding is done and put into production, only then again the new requirements can be incorporated. There are multiple failure points here. And at the end, there is the feedback process is very slow, very slow feedback. Just imagine, while during the testing phase, the testing team actually realizes that one of the functionalities that has been critical functionalities that has been put into the code that is actually not effective. There should be a better way of doing it. But by that time, the development team has completed the entire coding. So they will have to do it from scratch, most probably again. Okay. So there is a huge preparation that is required in waterfall model. Now, that is where something called agile developed. This is a advanced methodology. Here, what is the benefit of agile? The speed of development. The entire thing requirement is broken down into many small modules, and only the small modules are worked upon by separate teams. Okay, so the good points about agile: speed of development. The testing is very fast. The deployment cycle is also very fast. So there is immediate feedback. Any change required, immediate feedback they get. Okay, don't put the login button on the right side, put it in the center. This small change to do in the waterfall model is very difficult. It's very time consuming. So immediate feedback, this is very important in today's market for businesses to be competitive. Okay, and then there is something called like they work, they use tools like something called Scrum. I'm not getting into that. This is not a management class. And then Kanban, but you should know these words. You might want to do a Google search. using these tools, you can very quickly identify problems and also come to a solution for it. Okay. Ultimately, what happens on using the agile methodology is the best part here is this is where the concept for CI or continuous continuous integration. Break the entire requirement into, so this is the entire requirement, break it up into modules. So developer 1, D1 is doing module 1, M1, M2, M3, M4, M5, and dot, dot, dot. So each module is being handled by maybe a single developer or multiple developers. But then they are only responsible for the modules. Build the modules, test the modules, give immediate feedback. And then finally, obviously, at the end, all of this will be integrated. Okay. So feedback, continuous integration. So if there is continuous integration, this automatically leads to continuous, nothing but CD or continuous delivery. Okay. So this is the difference between waterfall model and agile model. In today's market, using the agile methodology is highly critical for businesses for accomplishing the idea to market as soon as possible. So agile and DevOps, they work hand in hand. Majority of the methodologies and principles of agile, they have been incorporated into the DevOps methodology. Okay, like faster, the CI/CD concept, and then using automation tools. Wherever there is repetitive human activity, identify it and then automate it. That is the best way for providing CI/CD. I mean, like continuous integration and continuous delivery. So as a wrap up, this was once again a very high level overview, but I hope I managed to give you an idea about what DevOps is. And in providing this, at the end, I will say, in providing this CI/CD pipeline, okay. So on one end is your dev team, and on the other end, there is your ops team. In between, working in the shadows, is our DevOps engineer. Who is going to communicate with the ops team in their own language and with the dev team in their own language. So that finally this CI/CD pipeline can be built and the idea to market to earn dollars is implemented as soon as possible. So this was a very high level overview about today's topic, which was what actually is DevOps. Does anybody have any questions? On that note, I will actually end the session. I mean, like the delivery of the lecture. If you have any doubts, this is the time to ask. Please go ahead.
Kallol, I wanted to ask you, it was quite informative for me. Most of the things, though I was aware of high-level stuffs, you dug deep into many of the concepts. It's made me much clearer. What I wanted to understand here is, see, when you said that the DevOps engineer will be working with both development team and operations team, so how much knowledge of coding should he be aware of? Like, for example, let's say that they're using Java or Python or something like that.
Very good question. Very good question. So, coding. Do you need to know coding? Very important question. One second, something is stuck here. There are a few prerequisites that you need, but in terms of coding, The answer to this thing is both yes and no. How so? Let me explain. The DevOps engineer, will he or she write code? Yes, they will write code. But this code is not for development. They will write code. That code can be written, first of all. They will need coding knowledge. Yes, that coding knowledge will be required in Linux and Python. Our course entails this too, so this will be more than enough for you. Python is a relatively very easy language to learn, and the Linux thing definitely you will need to know. Why? Because you need to automate processes, right? So you will need to write scripts. Okay, something called shell scripting. So the DevOps code that we will be writing, that will be for automating infrastructure. And deployment process. Apart from that, there could be integrating software, integration. See, CI/CD, right? Integration. Integration of what? It could be software tools and systems, both. Okay, so basically you will need to write scripts or code in programming languages like Python or Bash or PowerShell if you are using Windows. Okay, but that will be relevant to the organization's technology stack. And you will also be closely working with software development teams. So the basic concepts for programming, okay, and the best practices. So you don't need to be able to write the code, but then when you see the code, what is it actually doing? That overall perspective that you should be able to develop. Okay, so it is a very logical thing. I mean, like if you know whatever programming concepts like conditionals, variables, loops, these are very basic things. It's not a huge challenge if you're not from if you're zero in programming, it is not a huge challenge to understand these basic concepts. And then while doing the projects, you will automatically understand, because when I teach here, each and every step, each and every command line, I actually break it down. Okay, why this code has been written. And from that itself, you will be able to understand, because it is a logical, this is computer science you are dealing with, computer engineering. So everything is logical. Nothing happens here without a reason. There is no randomness here. So yes, coding knowledge is required, but will you write code? The answer is both yes and no. You are not going to write code for development, but rather you are going to write code for automating infrastructure, deployments, or integration of the various software modules or the systems. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Cool. I've already overshot the meeting timeline by 15 minutes. So keep posting your questions on the group chat. And I wish you the very best on this journey. Please go ahead.
Sorry, what is the where is the group chat? How can I join the group chat?
Yeah, I think the sales,
is it in WhatsApp or
no? The sales team will get in touch with you.
Is it okay?
Emmanuel, are you there on the call, Emmanuel?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. So Kiran is asking something about joining the group chat. Could you kindly address it?
Kiran, you might have received an invitation to join the WhatsApp group and the Slack channel in your email.
I'll just check it, Emmanuel. If not, then I'll ping you later on. Not a problem.
All right. Great.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Kallol. Thanks, everyone.
You're
Bye.
most welcome. Bye.
Bye.
So, if you have got any non-technical queries, kindly get in touch with Emmanuel. He's the Spock from the sales team. He can address your non-technical queries. Apart from that, from my end, I'm done today. Let's meet same time tomorrow. Thank you everyone for joining. You guys have a nice day. Bye-bye.